Welcome to the Authority File, the podcast that features conversations about the life cycle of scholarly communication. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice, a publishing division of the Association of College and Research Libraries. If I asked you to tell me what you think powers today's AI tools and LLMs, I bet your first guess would be computer science. And you'd be right, of course, but another discipline that's not typically thought of is mathematics. Math has played a huge role in the development of AI and still does. In this four-part series, generously underwritten by Springer Nature, I'm joined by two guests who will guide us through the mathematical foundations of and research connections with AI, and how the technology is intersecting with teaching, learning, and publishing. With me on the program are Elizabeth Lowe, Executive Editor of Mathematics, and Christopher Tomanich, Senior Editor of Mathematics, both from Springer Nature. In this second episode of our series, we examine the intersection of AI and mathematical research, including how researchers are using AI and the impact of AI-related research on the academic publishing market. So I want to talk about a brief survey you did back in January. You were at the Joint Mathematics Meetings, which is hosted by the American Mathematical Society. Can you tell us what you hope to gain from that survey, and what were some of the key takeaways?
Sure, I'll take this one too.
Okay.
Well, considering AI is in its infancy, what Chris and I, and actually the whole math group that were there, we hope to get something of a baseline of how undergraduates, graduate students, postdocs, instructors, researchers, even some people in industry floating around are using some type of AI.
Mm-hmm.
Here I can mention that we've used, I think in the past 3 or 4 years, this survey at the joint math meeting. Not the same survey. The surveys differ
Okay.
depending on what we really want to know.
Yeah.
This time it had to do with AI. And we knew from those previous surveys that the number of people who would be most likely to even take the survey would be students, undergraduates and graduates. And sure enough, 50% of those taking the survey were undergraduates, 28% were graduates and postdocs, 11% instructors, and 6% researchers.
Okay.
So based on that, keep that in mind. Now we have, based on survey results and of course some discussions that we had on the side. So we compiled all of this together. Most students use AI to understand topics better, pure and simple. A good number of them also use AI to assist with homework. And I understood this as AI verifies their answers. At least that's what we hope what they meant when using the words in quotes, assist with homework problems, not doing the homework problems for them.
For them, right? Yeah.
And what's interesting is that researchers, their response is the same number one answer as the students. They too use AI, to learn more about unfamiliar topics. And then for the researcher side, their next most frequent response were to polish. They use AI to polish their journal papers or book manuscripts. Completely legitimate, as
Mm-hmm.
long as the AI is not an author, right?
Right.
Now it's interesting also that right after the joint math meeting, one of our colleagues went to Fort Lauderdale and attended an AI and math symposium. And attendees there were working more directly with AI than what we found at JMM, although there were plenty more AI going on at JMM than ever. JMM
Yeah.
meaning the joint math meeting. So they were all academia. There nobody from industry, and of course there were graduate students there as well. And the big takeaway there, which may be, I guess, maybe a bit off of what you actually asked, but there were graduate students there who really expressed to our colleagues some real concern
Mm.
about AI taking their eventual jobs over. And we learned at JMM, though, that that's not happening. I mean, humans are always going to be needed to verify anything that AI spits out.
Hmm.
So no jobs are going to be taken there.
Right.
And so certainly for the foreseeable future,
Yeah.
humans will be needed, and graduate students turning into budding mathematicians will also be needed.
Okay.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned at the symposium that they had indicated, the respondents indicated that they were using AI more directly.
Hmm.
What did you mean by that? Like, how does that differ from the JMM responses?
Well, okay, so there weren't any surveys taken
Oh, okay.
where they were answering, specific questions. So it was more casual conversation,
Okay.
much like what, Chris or I or any of our other colleagues at the joint math meeting would have just face to face.
Hmm.
And, like I said, everybody was in academia and they may have been purposely working with AI.
Hmm.
So there were mathematicians and computer scientists, no doubt collaborating.
Right. Okay. I see.
So that was more a collaborative effort there.
Hmm. So have you been able to see, either through surveys like that or just anecdotally, or you know through interactions with authors and researchers, how mathematicians are actually using AI in their research beyond polishing their articles or sort of double checking work or that kind of thing. Are there other specific ways it's being used?
Yeah, sure. So yes, I mean, we mentioned that they use AI mostly, at least at the joint math meeting, yeah, right? They use it mostly to understand other topics.
Right.
Then the next was to, suck their PDF files into AI and say, does it look good or not?
Hmm.
Right. So there's that. And then we know that AI assistants are very good with LaTeX. And I hear of many great successes in using AI assistants to create perfectly done LaTeX documents. Now, they can't do everything. Now, for example, I hear from one mathematician that they use an AI assistance for creating the LaTeX code for community diagrams and tables.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
unfamiliar with LaTeX. What's that?
Oh, LaTeX. Oh my goodness. Uh, the inventor is skipping out of my head right now, but he was a computer scientist. Knuth.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So LaTeX, I don't even know how mathematicians would have typeset their papers uh, in earlier days. I think they had a typewriter with these bowls, right, that had
Oh.
different. Okay. LaTeX is a godsend for them. And in my background, I used to do production work and I used LaTeX all the time. So it's a programming language and it's
Okay.
a very sophisticated one, but it's also typesetting. So it's got all these parameters where you're not just typing, the mathematical code and equations, but it's setting the framework for the whole shebang. It's a
Oh, wow.
it's
Okay.
invaluable. I'm so sorry. I just assumed that everybody knew what LaTeX was. So given that, okay,
Yeah.
Bill, do you know what a commutative diagram looks like, or well, a table? Yes.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But if you've ever seen diagrams where you have, mathematics, right, and there
Hmm.
are usually arrows,
Right.
mapping one item to another,
Hmm.
those are commutative data, and AI does these things beautifully. But if
Okay.
you ask it to create something intricate, intricate mathematical image, wah wah wah. No. That becomes a real bummer.
Okay.
But I'm willing to bet that that improves over time. I wanted to say that I haven't actually met a mathematician yet who uses something called Lean to generate or verify proofs,
Hmm.
right? Theorem, proof, verify. I haven't met anybody who does that, but a relatively small number do at this point. And I'm sure at that symposium in Florida, there were far more mathematicians doing that there than we had come across, right, at the
Right.
joint math meeting.
Right.
Um,
So, okay, cool. So then, we talked a little bit about how, AI can, helps mathematicians work faster and more creatively. Where does it tend to fall short or even create problems?
Yeah, it's a nice question. Uh, the most optimistic statement I've learned or that I've heard about using AI is that it will accelerate discovery.
Okay.
It's not a replacement for human insight or for critical thinking. The results, we keep saying this, the results or information that AI produces still requires humans to verify, dissect and analyze. So AI is an accelerant. And while it functions, it may also highlight new challenges along the way. And I wanted to tell you about a bumper sticker I thought up um, uh, this morning, while I was doing the dishes. Something like this, ready? So AI is an accelerant, something like this. Use less gas, accelerate with AI. What do you think? You can edit that out if you really.
Wait, you're gonna.
Anyway, yeah, in the wide world of mathematics, AI can handle huge data sets. We've touched upon this. It detects patterns and,
Oh, I get it.
especially non-obvious patterns. It searches examples and counterexamples. And these patterns can inspire additional hypotheses or ideas, theorems. And without a human, a human could spend years of their lives
Mm,
doing this just simply because there's just too much data to look at. And in those cases, okay, AI is not just an accelerant, it's a valuable companion to discovery. But humans still have to check. So that's where it falls short.
right.
Okay. Um, and realizing, I guess, that the mathematics discipline contains a large number of fields within it, AI can generate ideas within those fields and within multiple disciplines. So there's plenty of room for error there, of course, but it suggests analogies and synergies that humans can overlook.
Hmm.
A basic example is, let's say, urban transportation. So mathematics can use AI to discover new traffic flow models using massive data sets that come from various sources like road sensors and GPS trajectories, traffic cameras, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
Um, and more examples can, of course, be found in climate modeling, epidemiology, finance, and so on.
Right.
But mostly, the falling short has to do with the fact that probability is involved and that it's not giving you precision. AI is not giving precision. And there's just a whole host of things from verification of proofs to computation to asking it to try and model something where AI can fall short because it would, you know, make things easier for itself and change
Oh,
a
I see.
definition or
Okay.
change a lemma, and then your whole darn thing is off.
Hmm.
So there you go.
All right. Perfect. Um, yeah. So I'm curious. I've been curious, like how, with the AI related research that's going on, how are you two as sort of editors, at a publisher, what is the publishing landscape in mathematics looking like to you now, with um, the various ways AI is influencing research and the field of mathematics itself?
Well, it's definitely changing very quickly. So Elizabeth and I are both book editors, but we have colleagues who work on journals
Okay.
too. And journals, as always, they're like the front line for new
Right.
research.
Hmm.
And there's with AI research, there's just this rush. Everybody wants to get in on it. Everybody wants, make it some new discovery. They want credit. They want to, push this field really forward. So there's definitely a shift, an even bigger shift than in the past, towards researchers emphasizing journal article publications. And we're seeing a lot of mathematicians who are, doing more AI related research, they're going to, like I said before, more conferences that are you would typically see like just computer scientists or data scientists at, and then they're publishing in the related journals. So our journal colleagues are definitely rapid increase in number of papers. I mean, there's publishers, not just Springer, who are making new journals to hand for this. I know recently there was the Mathematical Foundations of Machine Learning is a new journal. So there's definitely a lot of new opportunities for the journal publishing world. It's kind of a different story, unfortunately, with books. I would definitely say a lot of the researchers or mathematicians, who are doing this research that I speak with, they don't want to, for lack of a way of saying, just stop and put the time into writing a book. They're focused on the research. They're focused on getting those journal publications. So if you speak to someone and you're like, oh, have you considered writing a book? You're very knowledgeable and you're at the forefront of all this, and they just say, oh no, I don't have time. But we really do need more books on the topic.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. Does the book format itself? How do you, as an editor, how do you approach something like AI and mathematics, which is changing so fast? How do you freeze a moment in time to produce a book length, piece of work?
It's a very good question, and I don't have a complete answer, unfortunately. I mean, it's a very interesting, conundrum for me, because it's one of the areas I focus on with my book program is harmonic analysis.
Okay.
And like I mentioned before, like that field is really, really getting into the AI research. And we really want, these people, to consider writing a book, because, there aren't any really yet. And yes, AI research is still developing rapidly, but there are parts of it that have reached the point where, it's pretty settled,
Yep.
And it would be natural for a research monograph to come out.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
That could serve as a general, resource instead of scanning through all the journals to find.
Sure.
Can I add something, Chris?
Oh, sure.
So some book series, only one in mathematics, but in other disciplines, have something where you're publishing piecemeal. In other words, you don't necessarily have the whole concept from beginning to end. It can evolve. So, like a journal, a chapter's written, it gets published. The next chapter's written, it gets published.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of could keep up with a topic, because the book ends when you say it ends.
Right.
Or when the volume editor or author say it ends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one type of thing that we could do as publishers if that really works out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And something I think is really important for us as book editors to do in regards to, convincing people to, to publish in this area is just emphasizing the role that we play. I mean, I think it's more important than ever just to, remind people, we are a partner for you. We are a source of, vetted, high quality books, and, we want to contribute to the research landscape too, and to helping researchers. So I think that's a tactic I'm trying to work with. Varied success.
You just heard from Elizabeth Lowe, Executive Editor of Mathematics, and Christopher Tomanich, Senior Editor of Mathematics, both from Springer Nature. Join us next week when we shift the discussion to talk about how AI is impacting the teaching and learning of mathematics, including how instructors and librarians are positioned to help math students navigate AI's limitations and benefits. The Authority File podcast is brought to you every week by Choice and produced and edited by digital media producer Sabrina Kofer. Underwriting opportunities are directed by Melissa Carr and Ryan King. For more information about underwriting opportunities, download the Choice Media Kit at choice360.org. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.